Good morning, y'all. It is Tuesday, Taco Tuesday.
Martians ain't never did shit to me. I'm looking at your white ass. You my alien. I'm gonna keep my eye on you. Martians ain't never did shit to me. I'm looking at your white ass. You my alien. I'm gonna keep my eye on you. Shit, you the one that told me I couldn't go to Denny's. I'm gonna watch you.
Styles P and Dave East here. Oh, they got an album out too. It's called Beloved. They're supposed to have Beloved 2 coming out.
Beloved Styles, beloved East, beloved New York streets where we run around. I'm in love with dirty cash and I'm used to living fast, but I can take it to the moon when the sun around. I'm from the Empire State and I'm high as the state building. Beloved, I have no plans of coming down. Beloved, I got you covered in fingerprints, rubber gloved, nothing to discussions. My niggas gon' hunt you down. Beloved, the meaning of friend, let's eat to the end, split the plate and tell the plug, can't wait to see you again. Running the rule of evil, I want all my demons to spend. Don't panic, you in that water, I just need you to swim. The meaning of the name David is David. Beloved or friend? Beloved, I've been rugged since the 4-finger nugget. Had a cocaine budget from the rap one. The bodega, they call me Davy. Gun by the high sea, cross one of us, I'm gonna clap some. Now my baby brother's a C and my other homie's the B. But me, I'm just a G that came to rap some. These pills got these youngins bugging, you'll die for 100 something. So act like you love your life and just relax, cousin. Beloved, I've been dogging since Carmelo played for the Nuggets. Made a deal with the plug before the label came with a budget. Now the biggest haters I got, they used to say we was cousins. Came from the dungeon, you say you got cocaine, we can cut it. David. Beloved or friend?
Good morning, happy Tuesday.
Good morning, baby. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Taco Tuesday. It's raining outside, too. It's a little wet, so that was a little annoying this morning. And then, too, like, not even 5 minutes after I left, so I was going up Humble.
Yeah.
And, there's a car behind me, and I can, you can just tell, like, that they're impatient and that they may want to go around you and shit. So keep in mind, I'm up Humble, so it's a one lane, that's it.
Right.
Going north on Humble. And I could just feel it. And then, yep, boom, they just got on my right side, so I had to, kind of.
They, like, went in the bike lane.
Yes.
To go around.
Yes. So I had to get out of their way. Because I could just feel it, I could see it. You know what I mean? So I just kind of got out their way and shit, and they just flew past me. I started beeping my horn, though, just to fuck with them. It doesn't mean anything. It's not going to change who they are, obviously. But it was just kind of like, you know what I mean? And just a way of, like, screaming at them without...
Right. And it was raining.
It was raining, too.
So, like, that's an accident.
All of that. Accident waiting to happen. And, when it gets wet outside and it's dark still, you can't see the lines. So, like, all of that was kind of an issue, so I was just kind of, yep. And I'm just thinking, like, man, like, it's not, like, I've been up a whole 20 minutes probably. And what a way to start the morning, you know what I mean? It just says a lot about that individual, though.
It does.
You can. Exactly. You can read a lot on just how somebody drives. I mean, I'm saying you can't get the whole picture about a person, but you can get a little insight into somebody. That probably shows that they're very impatient, like me first attitude. They're probably argumentative, all that kind of stuff. When you see somebody, it's just like, damn, like Michelle just said, like, leave early or plan better. Yeah. But don't hinder or alter my day or potentially get me into a situation because...
Was it a man or a woman?
I don't even know.
Oh.
Because it was, because once they flew past me, You know, I just seen the back of the car, basically. So, yeah.
Because nowadays, like, not to sound sexist, but, like, you used to just imagine that was a dude doing that. But nowadays...
And I'm going to assume it was, but it may not have been.
But nowadays, like, the ladies are...
It could have been an old-ass lady. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the stereotype, right, is, you know, somebody younger, whatever, you know, whatever. But, you know what else I thought was weird, too, right? So remember the stuff we were talking about yesterday, right? We were talking about how we were looking for examples of black fans in sports where they've called a white athlete a racial slur. Yeah, honky, cracker, peckerwood, or whatever, right? So I noticed, remember when I was playing the recording back, it started doing that.
Was it at that part?
That stuff got X'd out. That's kind of weird to me. So we're kind of talking about it again. So I'm gonna just don't y'all. I'm not saying this to be racist or nothing. I'm just gonna say these couple of words because I want to see if this gets again when we're recording it. So I'm just gonna say the word honky, y'all. I'm not doing it I'm just saying it.
That's weird. We were outside when we were recording that. Mm-hmm. So I wonder.
And the conversation, like when we were outside and we were walking and stuff, yep, that. And remember when we ran into the older lady and she was like, oh, Chewy, I love and all that stuff, that's gone. So, yeah, I don't know if Podbean's having a little glitch or something or if it's their stuff, but it's happened a few times now. Side note. How are y'all with lighters? I'm horrible with lighters. Like a few days ago, we had about 5 or 6 of them. Now we're down to 1. I left 2 in the car. One of them died. Threw that out. So I think there's probably a couple that are like in my jacket or a pair of pants or something like that. Because I found my favorite jacket. People like, whatever. I found my favorite jacket the other day I've been looking for months. Not only did I find it had a lighter in it, it was almost brand new, too. I must have just had bought that lighter. I was like, yes, found my jacket and a lighter. Yeah. And then Trump's dumbass had the nerve to say, oh, they just happen to be white. I don't care about it. Dude.
I don't even know why he added that. Like, you made it worse by adding that.
They just happen to be white. And then he's saying all the stuff that like you were saying last night. For people listening, we're not against the white migrants coming here. We're trying to point out that he's allowing them in, but he's kicking out all the black and brown ones, or he's canceling their visas and all this stuff. And a lot of them are going through the same stuff that these white migrants are saying that they're going through, which is to be debated.
Right, which like people in the Congo are actually going through genocide.
Exactly.
And these people are not. By definition, it's not genocide.
Exactly.
That Ashley explained it really well last night.
She did.
What the actual issue.
She learned me some shit because I was like, damn. She broke it down She went from Nelson Mandela and all that shit to like how they got to this point right now. And that's why them Afrikaners, they literally gave themselves that names to separate themselves from black people.
Instead of being South Africans?
Yeah. They literally, That's crazy. And like they were saying too, this is Elon Musk's doing. He's the one who got in Trump's ear and was like, yo, let's bring them over here.
Like
He has been tweeting that stuff and all that shit.
What's with the 50 people? And why was it only 50 people?
Because that's just the first busload. There's going to be more.
Is that all that could fit on the plane or something?
There's more coming. We're just not going to hear about it. They're going to just be bringing them over here in the clove of darkness or, without saying nothing. So unless people like us are talking about it or trying, you know what I mean, they're just going to keep bringing them here. And like we said, that's fine. I don't care if they come. But I'm saying let everyone come. You can't kick the black and browns out or call them terrorists and all this other shit, but then let the white ones in with open arms. and expedite. I mean, they vetted them and got them squared away.
Right, and Anna Navarro was saying that there's people
that have been waiting for years to get their paperwork
like 3 years. They're in the process,
and they
but
get
like
theirs done in 3 minutes.
Yeah, so that was.
And then how are we supposed to not point to racism?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to point to racism. I want racism to be over. I don't want racism to be a thing.
But how else? Especially when he says they just happen to be white.
They just happen to be white. And then a lot of times when you hear a white person, I didn't say all the time, but a lot of times when you hear a white person saying, I don't care what color they are, they do care what color they are. It's crazy, y'all. All right, we're going to finish getting this episode together for y'all so you can have something to enjoy on your rainy day off. Hopefully you guys, if someone's got off today, they're listening. They got their coffee going. Shout out Collectivo Coffee. You don't have to be bougie and do the French press and all that. Although the French press coffee is good, I will admit. When it's made and it's done and all that, it tastes good. But just the process of all, that's something I couldn't do every day. Pressing the coffee and it's just like, yeah, that's too much. That's a little too bougie for me. All right, y'all. But there are no examples. And Michelle looked it up, too, yesterday. Didn't you, baby? Remember we looked up the information to see if there were any documented examples of black fans saying racial stuff to white athletes.
Yes.
And it said there's no documented cases.
Correct.
And like we said, there's nothing new under the sun, so someone will be able to find a situation, maybe one or two. But for the most part, and we did a deep dive, too. We checked all kinds of sources, and they said that, and they were saying how we were saying, like, you might have a black fan talk bad about a white person's game. They might be like, oh, dude ain't shit. He ain't no good. He's slow or whatever. He can't.
But they're not yelling from the stands. Fucking honky.
Exactly. Exactly. We just don't do that type of stuff. We just don't. You know what I mean? Uh-oh. Let's see. Michelle's got crime time on. Someone, I think, is missing or something. Let's listen in for a second.
Robert admits to
Robert admitted
that the hotel guest had overheard.
Actually went to drive. That was started the whole altercation. It was like, I'm getting my and I'm leaving. We're done. It's over. I'm leaving you. This and that. I was like, really?
Robert says Emily then stormed out of the room.
I see her sitting in her car and another two pull up.
white on white violence.
White truck.
White truck, white violence.
Jump up, gets in and drive.
She got in this white pickup and drove off with this guy.
It's
got this audio clip of Orange Man being racist and just,
all refugees fight discrimination in their home country are heading to the United States, where your administration is going to welcome them as refugees. Now, this comes as you've halted virtually all refugee admissions for people fleeing famine and war from countries like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for hundreds but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have a G20 meeting there.
Lying-ass Orange Man.
A G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless
You stinking-ass racist.
Taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or white makes no difference to me.
You piece of shit. You orange piece of fucking shit.
Brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated.
How is that not racism, y'all? I know people get sick of hearing people talking about racism and all that shit, Well, if they stop being racist, I can find something else to fucking talk about, y'all. How is this not racism? How is what this orange bitch doing not racist? Him and his people. Because they're doing all of this. That's crazy, y'all. How is this not racist? That's the last time I'm going to ask. Or are you MAGAs and shit going to just tell us to get over it again? Oh, whatever. You never want to talk about anything. You MAGAs, you back all his bullshit, and you know it's bullshit. And then when you get called out on it, you don't want to talk about it. Because you don't have a foot to stand on. Fucking piece of shit, man.
Right about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white.
White privilege.
White or black makes no difference to me, but white.
Oh yeah, it does. It makes difference to you, you bitch.
Brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa, and the newspapers and the media, television.
Their land's being confiscated. What about the stolen land that I talk about that no one seems to give a shit about? A lot of that West Coast now used to be Mexico. A lot of parts of California used to be Mexico. A lot of parts of Texas used to be Mexico. Why do you think some of the names of these cities are the way they are? Saying this, saying that, saying that. The white man came and stole, annexed all that shit. A lot of those South Africaners or whatever they call themselves and shit like that, trying to separate themselves from black people, man, a lot of them have Dutch blood in them. A lot of them are, I didn't say all of them, but a lot of them, man, they hate black people and brown people. Why don't they go back to Holland? Why didn't they go, because a lot of them would be Dutch, too. The white ones. Why don't they go back to Holland or whatever? Why do they got to come here? Go to Holland. I think Holland's pretty safe. I don't think anything's going on in Holland. Send them over there. And I ain't trying to sound shitty. I'm just saying, send them there. And they're getting fast-tracked. Do you realize how long it takes sometimes for people to get citizenship, for their paperwork to go through? 2, 3, 4, 5 years and shit sometimes. But these people get to come here. They've been vetted. They've been there. They hook them up. Fast track them. And they're going to make sure that they're ready to vote in 2028 too. And if you think that's the only 49 or 50 of them are coming, you think it's just going to be one busload, you're an idiot. So, and that's the thing, you know what I mean? To kick all the black and brown ones out of Texas. Remember Greg Abbott's punk ass was sending black and brown migrants to democratic cities and stuff so that we can all fuss and fight with each other and stuff. But he's bringing the white ones into Texas because that's where some of them are going. The white migrants, they're going to Texas and shit. And here's the other thing that I think is going to happen too, and this is just my personal opinion. This is what I'm guessing is going to happen. Because you had a lot of abandoned apartments, people done skipped out on their jobs and stuff like that. I'm talking about, black and brown migrants that were worried. So, they probably did just self-deport. Stop paying their rent, you know what I'm saying? They're probably worried about ICE knocking on the door. So you got situations where, Latin people, just abandoned where they're living and just, GO and took off or whatever. So you got, apartments that are abandoned and stuff like that. I think that's what some of them white migrants, they're going to put them right up in the places that the Latinos left out of. I can see it. I can see them doing that shit. Putting them up in the same apartments that Latinos just left because they're worried about ICE knocking on the door and shit. But they're gonna hook them white migrants up. They're gonna put them right to work. You know what I mean? And then they're gonna keep coming. You think that's the only bus that's gonna come? Come on, y'all. I wouldn't be surprised if there's already a couple bus loads that came already. And that's the thing, like, if people like us don't talk about it and point out the hypocrisy, the bullshit, and that's the thing, like, I don't mind that, I don't care that they're here. That's not my argument. My argument isn't saying that they shouldn't be here. My argument is, it's like, how are you picking and choosing? You're letting all these white migrants in, no problem, getting them all hooked up, like fast-tracking them basically and all this shit. But black and brown people that are fleeing their countries because of the same stuff and violence, we don't afford them the same courtesy. We don't accept their reasons. We don't accept why they're saying they're coming over here. We call them liars and we call them rapists and terrorists. You know what I'm saying when I say we. I'm talking about the Trump bitches and all the racist people and all the people that don't want migrants here and thinking they're coming over here and taking your job. That's BS. You know what I mean? So, that's just crazy. Play this bullshit one more time.
Is going to welcome them as refugees. Now, this comes as you've halted virtually all refugee missions for people fleeing famine and war from countries like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why are you creating an expedited path to the country for hundreds but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they talk about it. That would be the only story they talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible.
See how he just lies? He just lies all day long. That's literally all he does is lie. I think dude lies more than like a kid. You know what I'm saying? How kids lie a lot and shit like that when they're really young. They just say shit that they'll just lie about stuff they don't even need to. Man. So, yeah, but that's racism all day. That screams racism all day. And I've been calling this shit out. I've been saying this, y'all. I've been saying this. And like I said, they're going to keep bringing them here, too. We just ain't going to hear nothing about it. You think that's the only bus coming or the only plane coming? Hell no. And it's against the law for him to accept that plane, too. Is literally illegal. There's literally a law written that a president is not supposed to accept any kind of gifts or anything. Nothing. No present, no gift, none of that shit. So, yep. All right, y'all, let's get back to this episode, though. But there are no documented cases. If you can find one, send it to me. But you can't find any documented cases where a black fan is calling a white athlete racial slurs. White people do that to black athletes, unfortunately. Peace and blessings, y'all. This is DVJ and Michelle, and this is the Cold World Podcast. We're coming to you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, y'all. It's Tuesday, May 13th, y'all. Yeah. About to head out for work. Just wanted to say good morning, everyone. We hope that your weekend went well, you know what I mean, and all that stuff, and hope that you're doing well early in this week. All right, let's get to this episode, y'all. Enjoy the music, the clips, and the content. This game is good so far. 72-63 Boston. Flagrant foul on Jaylen Brown. I got him and Brunson in my lineup. Yeah, he's lucky he didn't turn his ankle on that. I mean, he did a little bit, but he's good. Yeah. I can't find any examples where a black fan at a sports event, NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, any of that, where a black fan called a white athlete, you know, the H word, or, you know, anything, you know what I'm saying? A racist word. Where's Chewy at? I don't know. Is he ain't under the bed? Unless he's by the front door, maybe? Yeah, you know? I can't find any examples. And we looked it up, too, and they said that there are no examples of any black fans calling a white athlete a racist. You know what I'm saying? From the stands, you know how it's always like a white fan calling a black athlete an N-word? There's tons of examples that you can find. But there aren't any of black fans calling white athletes racist names because we don't do that shit. That's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm making. You know what I mean? This next music interlude, this one's called Professionals. Styles P, SP the Ghost, a.k.a. Panero the Ghost. This is off the Ghost and Grenades mixtape off the YouTubes.
Drug dealer, musician, now I sell fruit, let's call this fruition. School of hard knocks, yeah, I paid my tuition. If I made my decision that somebody gotta go, then you order Dr. Bo. You can find them when they fishing. The ghosts and them harder than Iron Man and Vision. All the Avengers, too many rap pretenders need their brain on the fender. Got the full clip agenda. You looking for a slot, I fit you on the schedule. Gonna put you to sleep, the bullets made it penetrate. Fucking my professionals. We clear the place out. In a place, leave a nigga face down. We got.
So Michelle and I were talking about what was going on, you know, what's been going on with Draymond Green and stuff, right? And one of the things I was saying to her, well, there was a couple things about the Draymond Green situation. First of all, I will say, dude does have a temper. He does. Like, I think we can all agree to that, right? And it's crazy, though, because some people, I can't explain it, but, like, and anyone that's ever played sports, like, even somewhat competitively, you know what I mean? You know how that is. Like, some people seem to just turn into a totally different person when they get on the court. You know what I mean? They might be mild-mannered, just like their normal personality might just be, they might just be real chill, laid back, quiet or whatever. But something It's like a switch goes off when they get on the basketball court and they just turn into a totally different person. More vocal, more boisterous, more, you know what I mean? A little more confrontational, a little more, willing to get into it with people. I don't know what that is, because I've known people like that. They'll be some of the most chillest, quiet, even balanced people, but as soon as they get on that basketball court, I don't know if it's the I don't know what it is, but like I've seen people be like, you're like, man, that's a totally different person. So yeah, it's some about sports, brings that out of people. Some people, it's hard to explain, but I will admit there's a sense of freedom too when you're playing basketball. Like you could have like a shitty day going on, you could have like something real foul going on or whatever, just be having kind of a, you know what I mean? But then when you get on that court and you start playing basketball, it's like a freedom because you're like running up and down the court, all that, free flowing, you know what I mean? Anyways, I'm getting off topic. But what I wanted to say about the Draymond Green situation is a couple things. First of all, just a general point I wanted to make, and I know this has been discussed tons of time and people bring it up. But it's just like, why is it okay in hockey for them to beat the shit out of each other, punch each other, knock each other's teeth out and stuff, and it's considered part of the game? Two people fighting, in the middle of a hockey ring, it's become part of the game. They punch each other, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Then they get thrown into the penalty box for however long it is, and then they're able to come back. But in the NBA, two guys get into it and a punch or two gets thrown, which you rarely ever see anyways. When's the last time you've seen people like just straight up throwing hands in the NBA? I mean just straight up just fighting. I'm not talking about shoving and pushing and all that. And I'm talking about where people are just straight up throwing blows for real punches. You don't see it. For the most part, you know what I'm saying? But what if they did? What if two guys are getting into it, you know what I mean? They're going for a rebound, whatever, someone throws an elbow or whatever, the other one person gets mad, and then they square up. Couple punches get thrown, blah, 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 whatever, and then boom, they get technical fouls or whatever, and then they get thrown into the penalty box for like the rest of the quarter or something like that, whatever rules you would make up for the amount of time that they wouldn't be able to play or whatever, and then they get to come back in the game. But in hockey, you can beat the shit out of each other and you just go into the penalty box for 5 minutes. Why is that? So in hockey, it's just like, oh, did you see those two guys fighting each other? Yeah, man, dude, knock dude's teeth out. Yeah, man, I saw it, man, and all. It's just like part of the conversation, part of the game. But in basketball, two people get into it. It's like, oh, my God, man, did you see dude throw? It looked like he threw a punch. I can't believe it. The shit's getting out of control, and all that. That's because it's NBA basketball. It's mostly black athletes. You know what I mean? And then, they go off the stereotypes, black people being aggressive and fighting. Those are all bullshit stereotypes, right? So it's like, oh, we can't have that. We can't have two black guys fighting each other. But we'll let the two white hockey guys beat the shit out of each other, throw them in a penalty box for 5 minutes, and then let them come play again. See what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, and when I say this, I ain't saying it with, like, malice or just to be just straight up mean. I'm just being honest about, like, who gets to do what and, like, who gets all the negative energy, who's allowed to just float through life and not get any kind of resistance or criticism or anything. Like white people. You know what I mean? They get to just do whatever they want, man. That's crazy as hell. They get to do whatever they want. You know what I mean? But my point with that, though, is to go all around the block to get next door. My other thing with the Draymond Green situation is, and this is going to, you know, the other part, where people are talking about him being called the N-word, because I think that's what someone called him, a fan called him. Because keep in mind, remember, the other part of that situation with him being kicked out of games and all that stuff, the other part of it is like what the fans said to him. You know, and I'm going to go on and assume, and I think it's a pretty safe assumption, I think that white fan probably called Draymond Green the N-word. You know what I mean? So then it made me think, I'm like, you know what? Like, all the examples that I hear about and that we all hear about, unless you guys know something I don't know, but all the instances where there's a fan saying something racial to a player, it's always somebody white. It's always a white fan yelling a racial slur at a black athlete, whether it's the NBA, the NFL, you know, Major League Baseball, whatever. You know what I mean? It's a white fan saying something disrespectful or racial to a black athlete. Those are all the examples I hear of, and those are all the ones you hear of, too. Because I actually did a small little deep dive and checked to see if there's any documented situations or cases or anything like that, complaints or whatever, of black fans yelling racial slurs at a white athlete in sports. You know what I mean? Like just picture you at the NBA game, and let's just use Luka, because he's white, you know, or let's use Dante DiVincenzo, whoever. Even like a Larry Bird or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just picture in your mind, when's the last time you've heard of, read about, done some research, and found a situation, an audio clip, video footage, a story, anything like that? When is the last time you found a story or heard about a black fan or a brown fan and or both yelling a racial slur at a white athlete? When's the last time you've heard about that? Find me a situation and let me know. Because I did some digging. Michelle did some digging too. And there's no documented evidence or cases of that happening. Now, having said that, there's nothing new under the sun. So, like, if someone if someone did some super, super, super duper deep digging, I'm sure you could find a situation. Because you'll always be able to find, you know, one or two scenarios, right? But for the most part, you're not going to be able to find stuff like that because black people don't do that kind of stuff. And if a black fan is like getting into it or saying something, you know, disrespectful to a white athlete or whatever, or they're exchanging some, it's probably more just based off the sports related, just off the performance of the white guy. Maybe the black fan don't think the white player is really any good or whatever. So, you know, I could see a black fan saying some shit like, "Oh, dude's garbage. He ain't no good. Oh, dude can't shoot, man. Get his ass on the bench. Dude's got like stuff like that. Oh, dude's slow as hell." Or so, you know what I'm saying? Oh, dude moves like, you know, moves like a sloth. You know, he's gangly. You know, stuff like that, but not racial slurs. Ain't nobody out there calling, you know, a black fan calling Cooper Flag a honky or a Peckerwood, or calling Luka, you know, a white cracker or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Actually, if you think about it, though, with that real quick side note, when you call a white person a cracker, that ain't really offensive to them. If they know the history of that word, it's more of a compliment. If you do your research and you really think about it, because that word cracker, that's given to them. That was a name given to them because, you know, they were whipping black people with them whips. And that's the sound it would make when it hit, you know, that cracking noise. You know what I mean? So that's they started like calling white people crackers because they were cracking black people with that whip. So when you call a white person a cracker, you know what I mean? Like, so But a lot of them don't know that, so, you know what I mean? But anyways, we did some research, right? And come to find out, so it says, after extensive review of available reports and public records, there appear to be no well-documented or widely reported incidents of black fans directing racial slurs at white athletes. This absence is notable, especially when contrasted with numerous documented cases of white fans using racial slurs against athletes of color. This disparity may be attributed to several factors: historical and systemic context. Racial slurs against white individuals have not carried the same historical weight or systemic implications as those directed at people of color or non-white. Media coverage and reporting. Incidents involving slurs against white athletes by black fans might occur but are less likely to be reported or gain media traction, possibly due to societal perceptions and the relative rarity of such events. Socioeconomic factors. I've never actually read that word before. I think I did that okay. Access to venues and seating areas where interactions with athletes are more direct is often influenced by socioeconomic status, which can affect the demographics of fans in those spaces. Oh, yeah, that makes some sense if you think about it. Because, like, a lot of times, the white fans are going to, you know what I'm saying, they're going to be sitting closer to the court. Because they'll pay for them seats. They'll pay for them seats, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, we'll just, you know what I'm saying, we ain't trying to break the bank going in there to watch no game. You know, and it ain't because black people are broke. We're not all broke. That's the other thing, too. Like, we're not all poor and on welfare and all that shit. That's the other stereotype I get sick of. A lot of times it's not that we can't afford the tickets. It's just that sometimes, I think that's the other part, too. Like, I know I'm going all over the place, but I think black people do better with their money. Like, saving money and shit like that, and, like, just being able to, you know what I'm saying? Because historically, like, we've had less, so we know how to, you know what I'm saying? We know how to work a dollar. We know how to, you know what I'm saying? Give a black person $1 and give a white person $1. And that black person's going to, you know, come back with more with that dollar. You know what I'm saying? We're good with working with less, you know what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, we've had experience with, like, having less through all the bullshit that's happened to us. Some of the stuff we make bad choices. I'm the first one to admit I made horrible choices in my life. That's why I still got a little more than a year left to go on parole. I ain't gonna lie to you, y'all. I'm like, man, sometimes, like the other day, I was thinking, like, damn, man, I only got a year to go left, basically. Why can't they just go on and just kick me off and be like, you're done? A year? I've done 12 years on parole, y'all. I have not fucked up. I haven't been back to jail. I haven't violated. I haven't done anything I ain't supposed to be doing, y'all. In 12 years, I was released from prison. I'm just saying this, too, because I try to keep in mind that there's always new people listening, so everyone doesn't know, you know what I mean? So I think it's important just to say that from time to time so people know what's going on or whatever, you know what I mean? Someone might have just started listening for the first time or the second time or whatever. But yeah, I did 12 years. You know what I mean? I got released April 8, 2013, and I've been out here ever since. I haven't been back to jail for a second, an hour, a day, nothing. I go to work. I keep my nose clean. I make good choices. You know what I mean? And I choose to make good decisions, you know what I mean? But yeah, part of me is like, damn, man, why can't they just go on and just let me off, you know what I mean? But anyways, back to the Draymond Green scenario. But, so yeah, access to venues and seating areas where interactions with athletes are more direct, is often influenced by socioeconomic status, which can affect the demographics of fans in those seats. Let's see. Yeah, so there's no documented, there are no documented, says known incidents or lack thereof. Documented situations of white athletes being called derogatory statements or racist terms by black fans is rare to non-happening. That's crazy. Because if a black fan uses a racial slur toward a white athlete, it could be indeed considered racist. Racism, this is their words, racism can come from any individual regardless of their background, though its social impact may differ depending on historical and systemic contexts. See, this is what I'll say about that, because there's a debate about that too. You know, can black people be racist and all this? Can other brown people be racist? I think that if you're black or brown, I feel like, we can all say racial stuff to people because we know the words that sting. We know the words that hurt people. You know what I mean? So, like, me being black and brown, I could call a white person a hunky because I know in my mind that that's something that will upset them and it's offensive, right? But that's pretty much as far as it will go. Like, how will that white individual that I just said that to, how will their life be altered or hindered in a negative way by me saying that? Other than them being pissed off at me saying it to them, you know what I mean? Other than that, how's it really going to affect their life to where it's going to hurt them financially, emotionally, freedom, like all that, how, they're not going to have their job taken away or, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like for the most part, and I mean, there's always scenarios you can find, like, you can find a scenario, okay, let's see, where black people might be in a power position where they can negatively, impact a white person or, alter their life. Not too many situations, because most times, I said most scenarios, black people aren't going to be in a position to halter a white person's life. Like, most times, the black person's not going to be the boss. They're not going to be the one hiring and firing. You know what I mean? It's more than likely going to be a white person. You know what I'm saying? One example where a black individual could hinder a white person negatively would be like I said, would have to be a situation where the black person's more of in a power position to, like, maybe take a white person's freedom away. You could have a scenario where it's like a black parole officer and his client is white, you know what I'm saying? And they lock that ass up for doing something wrong. But one could even question that, you know what I'm saying? Because, the black parole officer is just locking the white guy up because they messed up. They made poor decisions. You can't really call that racist. But other than little stuff like that, because like I said, most scenarios, black people aren't going to be the hiring and firing. They're not going to be the boss of the place, the owner. You know what I'm saying? So in most situations, we're not going to be in a position where we can change your life, excuse me, or make something bad for you guys. You see what I'm saying? So I say black people and brown people can be racist in moments, or we can say racial things. But 9 times out of 10, we're not going to be in a situation where we're going to be able to, like, alter or change white people's lives negatively. Because for the most part, like I said, we'll be able to just say something negative towards them or call them a name or something like that. And other than them being upset about that or getting emotional about that, they'll get over that. Time heals all wounds. Versus, white people, they're the ones mostly hiring. So they can alter a black or brown person's life. Because they can fire you. They can hire you. They can give you the loan. They can give you the mortgage or not give you the loan or the mortgage. Most of them are the parole and probation officers. They can lock that ass up. They're judges. They're DAs. They're the corrections officers. You know what I mean? So, like, white people are more in of a position, you know what I'm saying, to hire, fire, alter, hinder your life. You know what I'm saying? Call the police on you. You know what I mean? Just so that kind of stuff. So they're more of in a power position. You see what I mean? So I would say, you know, just only in moments can black people be racist towards white people. Just in moments, but in totality, overall, no. Yeah. All right, y'all. But I just wanted to put that out there. Think about that. When's the last time you've heard of a black fan calling a white athlete, you know, a racial slur? You know? Find it and send it to me. Now, you might be able to find white and black people getting into it on the court. You might be able to find some of those scenarios where a black NBA player and a white NBA player were throwing punches and shit like that at each other or whatever. You know, they're just getting into it on the court. But you can find tons of examples of white fans calling black athletes the N-word with the hard ER and all that stuff and all kinds of shit. So, that's what I'm saying, and that's the other part of it. Black people, we don't do that type of stuff, man. We don't, like, we ain't into, like, fucking white people over, basically, and making y'all's life hell. We just want things to be balanced, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying, like, so... just think about that, y'all. All right, well, we're going to get back to this episode, though. But there are no documented cases of black fans hurling racial epitones or whatever, racial stuff at white athletes. There is no documented cases. All right, y'all. Let's get back to this episode. Enjoy the music, the clips, and the content. It's music interlude time, y'all. Oh, and by the way, y'all know Michelle. She's a Renaissance woman. She listens to all kinds of music. Well, I should say the only kind of music I have not heard her listen to is like that super heavy metal stuff where they're like all that. You know how our recording sounded when it was like, you know, there's some of them heavy metals that sound like. She don't listen to none of that, but she listens to everything else. She likes a little rap too, like real rap.
I would have to say right now I'm into Doechii.
I've heard of that person, but I've never. That's surprising. Okay.
And then I like Dave East.
Dave East, shout out Dave East. Police did him bad that day.
And then I also am into Snow the Product.
Never heard of them.
She's a
it's a lady.
Yeah,
okay.
Mexican-American rapper.
Okay. Damn, Michelle's learning me. I've never heard of two of these people. Y'all know she likes style, of course. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that took time, though, like, baby, will you tell the people? I listen to Styles and LOX every day.
Legit. Every day.
Every day.
Sometimes that's the only thing you listen to.
Mm-hmm. Told y'all, I'm loyal. There's certain stuff I like, and I just roll with it. You know what I mean? That's just how I am. Mobb Deep, Locks, You know what I mean? Devin the Dude, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Cool G Rap, Big Pun, rest in peace, Big Pun. Common. Michelle likes Common, too. We don't fuck with Kanye West no more. Dude's just on some straight up crazy stuff. But I know Michelle knows a little more because Michelle, if we wanted to do like an entertainment segment, we could do that too. We're well versed in a lot of stuff. I know a lot. I could do a sports podcast as well. Couldn't I, baby?
Yeah.
I totally could. I know my sport. I know all that stuff. I played sports, not college or nothing like that. But I played competitive sports. I got a good eye for talent. All right, y'all. We're going to get some music going, though. Oh, and I know Michelle likes Cardi B, too.
Yeah.
And she prefers... I think I'm correct on this. Michelle and I would be good at that. Remember that game back in the day, y'all, where they had the married couple, and then they sent one in the back, and then the host would ask a question, and then... I think we'd be good at that. I think we'd be real good at that. All right, y'all, we won't bore you anymore. And back to the episode. Do something good for somebody. Boost your immune system. Drink water and stay out the way. All right, y'all. I want to read this story to y'all real quick, if you wouldn't mind. If you're not interested, just fast forward a few minutes. So I did a little research and was trying to find some notable cases in the United States where, white cops or police officers, were charged or on trial for killing immigrants. And I found some cases here. Because, they're always talking about how migrants are, Trump would have you believe all the migrants are rapists and terrorists, that his bullshit narrative. They're coming out of our insane asylums, all that nonsense. So I thought I'd do some research on the border agents and the border cops and all them. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to find situations where they're harming immigrants or killing immigrants, but I found some. So who are the real monsters? So I'm going to just read a few. I won't get all super in depth. If you're interested in doing some more, research, you know what I mean? You can go and check some of this stuff out. So you have this white fella. His name is Patrick Loyoya. That's Lyoya. It's out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And this happened in 2022, y'all. So this Patrick Yoya, a 26-year-old Congolese immigrant, was fatally shot in the back of the head by Officer Christopher Scher during a traffic stop. Scher, who is white, was charged with second-degree murder. The trial ended in a mistrial after the jury failed to reach a unanimous verdict. That was from the Associated Press News. I'm going to read a little more on this. Let's see, y'all. So this is from the Associated Press, but this original article was from U.S. News. So jurors in Michigan officer's murder trial are struggling to reach a verdict. They're told to keep trying. And this article was by Isabella Volmert, and it was updated at 5:31 p.m. Central Time, May 6, 2025. So out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, a judge urged jurors to keep working Tuesday after they said they couldn't reach a unanimous verdict in the murder trial of a Michigan police officer who fatally shot a 26-year-old Congolese immigrant minutes after a routine traffic stop. Quote, talk things over in the spirit of fairness and frankness. By reasoning the matter out, jurors can often reach agreement, Kent County Judge Christina Mims said. Christopher Scher has claimed self-defense in the killing of Patrick Yoya following a brief foot chase and fierce physical struggle in a Grand Rapids residential neighborhood in 2022. Scher, 34, is charged with second-degree murder, but the jury can also consider a lesser charge of manslaughter. After a pep talk from the judge, jurors resumed discussions and will return again Wednesday. Deliberations began Monday afternoon. Yoya's mother rocked side to side in her seat as the judge spoke. Scher and his wife left the courtroom holding hands. The shooting on a cool, rainy spring morning was recorded on video. Scher was on top of Yoya and had lost control of a taser to him. He repeatedly ordered Yoya to drop the weapon and to stop resisting before he shot him in the back of the head. In his closing argument, prosecutor Chris Becker said Yoya was no saint, noting his resistance, a high blood alcohol level, and his lack of a driver's license. But none of these are executable offenses, Becker told the jury. Defense attorney Matt Borgula said, Scher genuinely feared for his life after losing control of his taser, which is designed to temporarily incapacitate someone with electric current. Christopher Scher was at work, these are quotes, and he was faced with the toughest decision in his life in a half a second, Borgula said. Scher was fired from the Grand Rapids department. Good. The shooting prompted protests in the city, and demonstrators on both sides have stood outside the courthouse during the trial with signs that say, quote, "Stand with Scher and justice for Patrick." Civil rights groups describe the shooting as more aggressive against black people in the U.S. by white officers. And if you're interested, Isabella Volmar, she's on X. If you want to hit her up, she covers Michigan government and politics for the Associated Press with a focus on women in state government. She is based in Lansing. So, that's up with that. Let's get back to the episode, y'all. Throughout this episode, I'll read a couple more examples. All right? But enjoy the music, the clips, and the content. It's raining outside, y'all. It is raining outside. All right. Michelle and I are home. We're working from home today, so, yeah. So we might do 2 episodes today. So be checking in, you know what I mean, if you're interested. And we'll get back to this episode. All right, y'all.
Alright, thank you. Court is adjourned.
That's crazy. White privilege. That's crazy. That's crazy. So dude got to kill a migrant and just got to go home, basically.